Hello friends, today I will tell you about the 7 types of herbs that you can put in your kitchen garden which not only help you but also provide you a medicinal value. If you are a new, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to get the upcoming latest video. Do follow me on Instagram where I post on the recent photos. There are several varieties of herbs that are found and spread across the world, but in tropical regions the herbs are a dominating one because the tropical climate provides the herbs to grow and well there. The herbs have extremely amazing benefits to cure many diseases, many dreadful diseases, while there are some herbs left which are undiscovered yet. Herbs can even prevent and manage heart diseases, cancer and diabetes too. Fresh herbs contain higher oxidant level as compared to the processed and the dried ones. In this further video, I will let you to know that the 7 types of herb that you can grow on your kitchen gardening and will also provide the benefits to you. So watch till end the video. The first herbs comes in my list is the lemongrass. Lemongrass are very easy to grow in the tropical regions such as India or the Asian countries. Lemongrass can grow in a full sunlight, approx 2 to 3 hours of full sunlight, but not in the harsh ones, as it can burn the leaves or the tips of the plant. They love to grow in the moist soil but not in the waterlogged situation, so make sure that your soil must be well draining and the pot must have the holes to drain out the excess water. When you break the leaves of the lemongrass, you will find a kind of a beautiful fragrance that you love to smell. The smell of the lemongrass have an antioxidant property and can cure many diseases like cough, cold or fever. The leaves of the lemongrass are not taken as such, instead they are taken in the boiled water or in the green tea while making them. When the lemongrass grow tall, the bottom leaves get to be brown and finally sheds off. They grows in a bulb which can be further propagated when required. I have not repotted this bulb yet and I have not repotted the polybag too, as I wanted the plant to get settled in my environment. The plant will not grow properly in the shady area while they need a bright light to grow or thrive well. The lemongrass is quite native to the tropical regions and they are very easily available in the local nurseries. They are very easy growing plant and they require a very less care or maintain them. The leaves of this lemongrass are very delicate in nature, so when you find this burning of the tips, you put them a bit little brighter spot but not in the dark or harsh sunlight ones. The fragrance of the lemongrass which it contains in the leaves helps to repel the mosquitoes and the pests too. They are also very helpful to the other plants to get repelled from the pest naturally. Removing the dried leaves from the bottom will help the plant to grow in a better situation. The next plant in my list is the holy basil, commonly known as tulsi. This herb of tulsi is quite popular in the Indian tradition and culture. As per Indian culture, the traditional and the ritual values, the many peoples worship them as a god. This plant of the holy basil or tulsi is quite different from the Italian basil in all the requirements as per the growth or the leaf structures or any medicinal or the beneficial values. Many researchers and studies reveals that the holy basil contains a much higher content of the medicinal value as per the Italian basil. Having 1 or 2 leaves of this holy basil daily will help to improve the digestion problem and many stomach problems too. This plant requires a good amount of sunlight to produce more foliage in them. You can keep them in a brighter spot where it receives the full day sun or 4 to 3 hours of sun minimum. This will help them to have a better growth on them. If you keep them in a shady area where it doesn't receive the bright or the direct sunlight, then you will find the leaves to be very tiny and will finally sheds off. Removing the dried leaves or the infected leaves will help the plant to grow in a better way. During the flowering season, you will find that this tulsi plant produces the seed pods on their tip. You should remove that seed pod to grow your plant a bushier one. By removing the seed pods from the tips will help the plant to not to waste their energy by producing the seeds and to complete their whole life cycle. If you find them that the pest has attacked them, then they spray neem oil solution in a diluted form as per required, which will help the plant to get rid of the pest naturally. Next plant in my list is the mint plant. Mint plant is a quite common and popular herb in the tropical regions. They are well adapted in the tropical regions, so they require a full sunlight to grow and thrive in a better way. Mint plant are very low maintenance plant and easy to grow through cuttings or even in water too. This plant requires a good amount of sunlight to have a better growth on their foliage. So keep them in a bright spot where it receives at least 4 to 5 hours of daily sunlight. Avoid keeping them in a shady area as the foliage will turn into tiny and the length of the plant will become very laggy. Mint plant loves to grow in a moist soil but not in the waterlogged situation, although they can be recovered from the waterlogged situation very fast if the well-draining soil is available. This plant need to be transplanted very soon as this plant grow very fast and soon covers the whole pot. Soon you will also find the roots coming out from the bottom. Mint plant is used to make a refreshing drink during the summer times which help to boost the immunity power. The mint plant leaves also used in garnishing the food in many cuisines. Mint plant can cure many diseases and contains the beneficial value when mixed in a different proportion with another elements. When you find during the hot summer times when the temperature rises up which can hamper and harms the leaves and burns the leaves too. It can eventually turns the whole plant to die. To prevent this, take a tray and fill the water and put some pebbles around it and put this plant on the pebbles. This will help the plant to retain the moisture around surroundings. You will find that this plant needs to be repotted soon as because the roots has come out from the bottom. To grow it a bushier one, you have to pinch it from the tips so that it will allow the lateral branches to grow and soon it will cover the whole pots. Next herb in my list is the rosemary. Rosemary as a herb is a quite popular and had well spread around the world as they are easy to care and easy to maintain plant. The rosemary is the best herb to start for a beginner as a kitchen gardening, as this herb is very easy to maintain and easy to care and require a very less attention. This herb can be treated as a common plant and they will thrive it well. Rosemary have many benefits too and medicinal properties. Rosemary is a rich source of antioxidant and it has also the property of anti-inflammatory. The leaves of the rosemary when consumed help to boost the immune system and improve the blood circulations. They also help it to improve the memory performance and the quality. The requirements of this plant is very simple and easy to care. This plant requires at least 2 to 3 hours of daily sunlight but not the full-time sunlight or the harsh sunlight which might burn the tips of these leaves and cause damage of this plant. Rosemary are not the heavy feeders unlike the other herbs or the other house plants. So fertilize them once a month will do a best job for them. The leaves of the plant when crushed produce a beautiful fragrance which add a flavor to the many cuisines. This plant is also used as to cure many diseases as a herbal and a medicinal power. The rosemary can be stored in the oils in a dried form which help to create a beautiful fragrance in them. The smell of this plant helps to repel the mosquitoes and the other harmful insects which help the surrounding plants to have the pest free. Pruning the tip of this plant is very essential to have the lateral branches to grow so that this plant can have more leaves and more bushier form. Next herb in my list is the curry leaves. Curry leaves is also known as sweet neem. This herb or this plant is quite popular in every houses and they are found in every kitchen gardening. The leaves of this plant contains a very beautiful fragrance which add a interest and the flavor to the many cuisines. They are well grown in the tropical regions, especially in the Asian countries, and they are very popular due to its fragranceful leaves. This plant grows almost all year around, but it grows in a much faster rate, especially in the monsoon seasons. The size and the texture of the leaves totally depends on the container in which you have planted it. The bigger the container, the bigger will be the leaves. To have much greener and bright foliage, this plant needs a good amount of sunlight. So place them in a bright sunlight. You can place them in a full sunlight all the day around. While taking the leaves to add a flavor to your food, always remove the leaves from the bottom, not from the top. It will help the plant to have a better growth on them. To make a bushier one, I used to remove the tip of this plant. This will promote the lateral growth and more branches. The more branches indicates the more leaves and the foliage. The curry leaves plant is not a heavy feeder one, so fertilize them once a month will do a best job for them. I used to fertilize them with vermicompost or the cow dung manure. Remember, the cow dung manure must be the fully decomposed one, otherwise it can burn the whole plant. A well-draining soil and the porous soil is best for every plant to thrive in a better way. So make the soil well-draining, which will prevent the excess water to log around them. Many studies has revealed that eating the curry leaves in a raw form will help to boost your hairs and provide them immunity to grow longer and stronger. The leaves of this plant also help to make your hairs a brighter and blackened one instead of making them white or aging them. This plant is very easy to care and easy to maintain due to its hardy in nature. The foliage of this plant will reduce their length if you kept them in a shady area. This plant is very sensitive to overwatering. Overwatering might harm the roots and can eventually rot the roots and finally leads to the death of this plant. When placed in a bigger containers, this plant grow very tall in height and produce seeds too. Next plant in my list is the oregano. Oregano is quite popular due to its spice in nature. The leaves of the oregano is not eaten as such. Instead, they are dried up and used as a sprinkling or the garnishing to the many foods and cuisines. Although it's not native to the tropical regions, but they can thrive well in the tropical regions too. There are many varieties of the hybrid that comes and spread across the world, and even the hybrid forms too. I have these varieties which produce the small leaf foliages. These leaves add a spice to many foods and cuisines. Although these leaves are not fragrantful unlike the others, but they are very good in nature. They contain a very beneficial and medicinal properties too. They help to fight from the bacteria and contain the antibacterial properties. The leaves of this plant also contains an anti-cancerous properties which makes them a best medicinal herb. This also reduces the viral infections and decreases the chances of inflammations. Although they have quite good properties of medicinal, but they are mainly used as a spice in the many foods and cuisines. This plant doesn't like too much of the sunlight. 1 to 2 hours of the sunlight will do this plant a better job. The harsh or the direct sunlight might burn the leaves and can eventually dry up the whole plant. This plant is also very sensitive to the water. If you overwater this plant, this water might rot the plant and can eventually die the whole plant. To make this plant a bushier one and produce more foliage on them, then prune the tips, which will help the plant to promote the lateral branches to grow, which will help the plant to have more foliages on them. This plant is also not eaten as the raw form, but they are dried up and used as a spice on the food. This plant is quite popular in the Italian cuisines. The plant of the oregano requires a well-drained soil, not the clay soil. I have not repotted this plant yet because I want to settle them in my environment. You should always remember to cut the dried leaves and branches on this plant, which will help this plant to have a better growth on them. You can pot this plant into the shallow containers as the roots of this plant is not too deeper. Next herb in my list is the ajwain leaves. These leaves are quite popular due to its beautiful fragrance as ajwain seeds. Although this plant is not the actual ajwain plant, this plant is also a very beneficial and have medicinal properties. Due to its beautiful fragrantful in nature, they are used in many foods and cuisines. This plant grows well in a full day sunlight, although they will do better in 4 to 5 hours of daily sunlight also. The worst situation which I have faced in my gardening experience that this plant doesn't like a waterlogging situation. So make sure that your pots must have a drainage holes and your soil must be a well draining soil. During the monsoon times, the water gets logged around this pot, so make sure that you must drain out the excess water. This plant I have grown from cutting as because they can be easily grown from cutting and produce roots very fast. That's all for today guys. A complete guide on the 7 types of herbs that we can grow as a kitchen gardening for a beginner. These herbs are the best for the kitchen gardening. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up and comment me below for any query, and subscribe to my channel if you are new.